Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. Well, it was a big week in Manhattan, especially on Monday when the Homeland Security Secretary, Kirstjen Nielsen, came to town for a tour of NBAF. We'll have reaction of what she thought, as well as from members of the congressional delegation and President Meyer. Also on the show this week, we'll have reports from Kansas Wheat and Kansas Farm Bureau, along with the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Investments. Stay with us. You're watching the Kansas Ag Report.
Closed captioning brought to you by Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Weed Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org.
Welcome back. This week takes us to Riley County on the campus of Kansas State University. The federal delegation was in town, included a member of the Trump administration, the Homeland Security Chief, Kirstjen Nielsen.
So we're really excited about NBAF. This is going to monumentally increase our capability within the United States. As the Senator said, it's not only a national asset, but it's an international asset. And we'll continue to work with our international partners to make sure that we bring all to bear that we have from a capability and capacity perspective. We plan at DHS to continue to work with USDA, so we'll have a very smooth transition after construction. DHS will continue to play a role on the surveillance and detection side, as well as working with our federal partners and our state and locals on the response and recovery should we ever have an event that falls within the bio or ag sphere. So first of all, there's always something to be said about seeing something firsthand. I was very impressed with how complex the project is. From a contracting perspective, it's hundreds of subcontractors over the years and change orders. So it's a very complex management project. In addition, I was very impressed with how the security is actually built right in and is being built right in. Part of DHS that we also have is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So often when we're visiting construction projects, it's something I have to raise to ask if they are preparing for natural disasters. The NBAF itself will be impressively constructed such that it will, I think it was what kind of tornado is it? Like the EF4, EF5, EF4 or 5. Sure. So it will be ready, and that's important because it's very difficult to bolt on that security on the back end. So it's being built right in. The containment will be secure no matter what the weather throws at us. So it's very impressive to see. We constantly relook at our risk aperture and where we are in terms of prioritization. What I have done at DHS is tried to do two things simultaneously: look at the threats we have in front of us today, and then ensure that we have the mechanisms to look at that horizon to anticipate the threats we have tomorrow. So as was described very well by the gentleman before me, this facility will not only help us look at today's threats, develop vaccines for it, et cetera, but will also help us anticipate and look at those emerging threats. So I think it's a dual purpose in that sense. On our risk registry, if you will, these threats will always be high because of the way in which they can spread if we don't have vaccines and we don't have the preventive measures in place and we don't have the surveillance. So we'll continue to work with USDA, FDA, and our other federal partners to make sure that we have the full mission space covered from prevention all the way through to recovery should it be needed.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. Kansas Weed Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Well, the president of Kansas State University, General Richard Myers, talked about the importance of NBAF on the campus here in Manhattan, the price tag, and is it truly worth it to have a facility like this here in the heartland?
Living here, we're going to be dealing with the world's most serious animal and zoonotic diseases, those that affect both animal and humans. in this laboratory where they're going to try to develop cures for these diseases. And you don't want to have a laboratory that's built on the cheap. As the Secretary said, this is a facility that can withstand enormous winds, enormous pressure differentials, among other things. And that costs more money than your standard building. So all of this is true, and then you want to make sure what we're working on inside stays inside, and that adds to the cost, of course, which is all very, very well calculated.
The state of Kansas invested $300 million as part of the state's investment, passed through the legislature unanimously. So there's been great support from 2006 onwards. For Kansas, the agricultural sector is $68 billion in economic impact every single year, and a couple hundred thousand employees across the state. This is absolutely critical for us, and what it's doing to the rest of the economy is it is improving and enhancing our opportunities. About a quarter of the world's animal health industry is now being centered from Manhattan on east, and that impact over the next 50 years can be measured in the tens of billions of dollars. So it really does step up to that, but in the end, it is also a national security issue for us, and one that we're very grateful that Homeland Security continues to have a very strong emphasis for us.
To add quickly from a DHS perspective, we always rather invest on the front end so that the cost on the back end is less. So the prevention, the ability to have the vaccines, the ability to identify new pathogens that we can use at the border to protect incoming materials, but also to be ready to respond with state and locals, the training, the understanding of what they need to do. This is, for us, it's a no-brainer investment on the front end so that we can be prepared when something should happen.
Well, we have companies locating here that would not have come here if it weren't for the National Bioagro-Defense Facility. And a lot more that are interested that are coming. And not just here in Manhattan, but it's, as I think as the governor said, this stretches on down to at least Kansas City, and the whole animal health corridor that we've described goes down to Columbia, Missouri, and other land-grant institutions. So they'll locate where they think it's best for them. It'll mean a lot for not just Manhattan and not just Kansas, but the region. This will be a regional. It'll have a national impact, but a regional direct impact, I think. So we just don't know yet. That all has to be as people settle and so forth. But sure, we've seen the impact when you have almost, I think we were told today, about 700 folks that are working on it. That's 700 additional in the community we did not have. That, I think that number's probably been larger in the past. You just think about when you're constructing something that large, that has a huge economic impact for the area. So all of that goes together. But thanks to a lot of the folks standing here around me, we just feel so fortunate that it was the federal government decided this would be in Kansas, and we're happy that it's here at Kansas State University.
This segment brought to you by Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Welcome back, and this week we're in Riley County at the campus of Kansas State University, and it was kind of a big week as Homeland Security Chief Kirstjen Nielsen came and got a tour of NBAF, and of course here we are at Pat Roberts Hall, and the namesake of the hall was also had a big part in what went on.
We always have the danger of an attack on our food supply. I'm speaking from a couple of decades ago when we had an exercise on what would happen with an attack with foot and mouth disease. In the end result, all of our exports stopped. People finally figured out their food doesn't come from grocery stores and emptied them out. This was a rather massive exercise where from Texas all the way up to North Dakota affecting our livestock sector. But it could be anything. It could be wheat mosaic or whatever. Right today, China is undergoing a tremendous problem with a disease that has affected half of their pork population. And they have the most pigs in the world. So cut that in half. Japan, same kind of a situation. So we really have to be on guard whether it's intentional from an agri-terrorism standpoint or whether it simply happens. So should that happen, we would really suffer a great deal. Our whole effort is to prevent it from happening and then have a plan to really, from your county sheriff and your county veterinarian and whatever, and that whole program still exists.
It's never easy to appropriate $1 billion. That's a huge amount of money. But in comparison to what the cost to the economy, but perhaps, I take out the word perhaps, but more importantly, the loss of life that can occur as a result of either an intentional or unintentional introduction of a bioagent into our food supply system, it is a price worth paying. And the pleasing thing is that the investment is occurring in Kansas, and the opportunities that we have to protect the world, protect Americans from that kind of attack is important to us. We understand the livestock industry. We understand its importance to our state's economy. But I'm also excited about the potential we have to have young men and women, students at Kansas State and elsewhere across our university system, who will be able to pursue careers because of the things that build up around NBAF's presence here. So NBAF and the $1 billion price tag, we expect that to be replicated by private sector investment in animal science here in north central Kansas, northeast Kansas. So expensive, but well worth the price tag.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns? And how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Spring is sprung, and Premier Farm & Home has what you need to keep your yard crabgrass free throughout the season. With a complete line of pre-emergents, you can stop crabgrass before it starts. Premier Farm & Home, 900 Southwest University Boulevard, or find them on the web at heycow.com.
Wheat streak mosaic is one of the most economically devastating wheat diseases in Kansas and the Great Plains. In 2017, this disease caused a conservative $76.8 million in direct losses to wheat farmers. There are basically only 3 ways to control the spread of wheat streak mosaic. The best way to prevent the spread is to remove volunteer wheat and other grassy weeds. Volunteer wheat must be completely dead and dry for 2 weeks before planting a new wheat crop. Volunteer wheat and other grassy weeds can be removed with herbicides or tillage, but it's absolutely essential to allow time for herbicides to work. Avoid early planting and plant after the Hessian fly-free date. By avoiding early planting, Kansas wheat farmers are able to avoid times when wheat mite populations are the highest in late summer and to decrease the interval between planting and fall freeze events. According to KSU plant pathologist Eric DeWolf, we're not talking about planting outside of the window for success for your wheat crop. We're encouraging you to plant on the later side of the recommended planting dates. Joe, Clara CL, and Oakley CL are current varieties with moderate resistance to wheat streak. Unfortunately, the WSM2 resistance genes in these varieties is less effective at temperatures above 75 degrees. At this point in time, there are no chemical options that are effective at controlling the wheat curl mite. Find out more at kswheat.com/stopthestreak.
Well, I'm Jeff Grossenbacher. I'm Vice President of Kansas Farm Bureau, and I farm in northern Nemaha County in the Bern area. We just had our primaries in Kansas, and it's very evident today in our Republican side of the governor's race how important every vote is. There was, I think, 20 counties that had less than 18 votes separating some of the candidates in the election. I think there was even one county that 1 vote separated the candidates. So your vote counts, and it shows how important it is to exercise your most important right as a citizen of the country, and that's to get out and vote and vote your conscience. Well, it is our 100th year, and it's exciting. We have 100 years of grassroots policy development. Our resolutions committee just met in the last several days to formalize some language to go back out to our counties and our individuals to see what they think of it. In my role as vice president, it's my privilege to chair that committee and make sure that process keeps moving. And we have 100 years of policy development in our book, and we're very proud of that. Policy development isn't fast, but it's a grassroots development that takes a year to develop, and we're continuing to work on it. And so it's served us well for 100 years, and I think it will continue to serve us well for the next 100 years.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
The Kansas Beef Council's Beef Certificate Program offers beef education resources and reimbursement to Kansas high school and middle school family and consumer science classrooms. Reimbursement funds provided through the Checkoff-funded program support purchases of beef used for classroom lessons about lean beef selection, storage, preparation, and nutrition. Updates to the program for the current school year include improved communications with family and consumer science teachers, a streamlined online application and reimbursement process, and website updates with classroom resources. To date, 136 Kansas high schools and middle schools have applied for the 2017-2018 Beef Certificate Program. Teachers have reported 16,466 students from across the state were reached, with an average cost per student of just $1.26. Two Kansas teachers recently were recognized for exceptional beef lesson plans through the Beef Certificate program. Bridget Heyer of Seaman High School in Topeka and Sherry Haskett of Skyline Schools in Pratt received additional funds to be used for classroom supplies. Kansas Beef Council Director of Nutrition Abby Hadari attended the Kansas Association of Teachers of Family and Consumer Science Resource Fair in Manhattan at the end of July. She provided teachers with updated information on the program. Teachers relayed positive feedback on the digital expansion of the program and emphasized the need for classroom resources and lesson plans. In response to teacher feedback, the 2018-2019 Beef Certificate program will include distribution of the True Beef DVD with standardized lesson plans.
Good morning. I'm Eric Osterhaus with Paragon Ag Advisors. We're starting to hear some early results from corn harvest, and it's been a bit of a mixed bag, with yields varying greatly from field to field and as well as farm to farm. The recent spate of rains really has slowed corn harvest, but it's seemingly helped our soybean growers, as most feel these rains have added bushels. The real concern in the soybean market, however, continues to be one of international tariffs and trade. One indicator painting a bearish picture is the basis levels that we're seeing in the Gulf, as our bean export business continues to lag. We feel that basis on beans can continue to widen as we move into harvest time, especially as the likelihood of a resolution to the tariff wars looks fairly unlikely before harvest time. Any hope for an improvement in basis on beans probably requires a bit of patience and a lower actual yield than what is being currently predicted. Basis and futures for corn has solidified somewhat since the announcement of our new agreement with Mexico, but we also feel that rallies to the upside will be sold into fairly quickly before we go into harvest. Wheat continues to lag despite some friendly headlines across the globe. We simply need to see some actual export sales tick up in order for these headlines to result in a longer term or a sustained rally. Some good news in wheat is that there is good carry in the market, even out to July of 19. One should take a look and see if some profitable numbers can be locked in. If you have any questions, please call Paragon today at 888-452-8751. Have a productive day.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net.
Closed captioning brought to you by the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. KansasSoybeans.org. Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org.
Spring is sprung, and Premier Farm and Home has what you need to keep your yard crabgrass free throughout the season. With a complete line of pre-emergents, you can stop crabgrass before it starts. Premier Farm and Home, 900 Southwest University Boulevard, or find them on the web at heycow.com.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net. Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us online at KansasAgReport.net or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching the Kansas Ag Report. We'll see you next week.